Hello, hello, hello. How are y'all doing on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday? Winsday. Listen, we're going to be talking about wealth today. So instead of Winsday, we are going to be talking about Wealth Wednesday. Today is Wealthy Wednesday. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Listen. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. My name is Nick Scott. I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform that is designed to help women turn their skills into coaching income, digital products, and online businesses so they can earn more, so they can depend less on traditional employment, so they can design a life on their terms. Listen, today we are going to be talking about something that I think about all the time, okay? I said it is Wealth Building Wednesday. That is what we're talking about today. We are going to be talking about something that I believe once you see it, once you hear it, you won't be able to unhear it. Like this thing is just going to reverberate in the back of your mind. So I want you to settle in, get your coffee, your tea, your water, your wine, your cocktail, whatever it is. If you haven't already, go get your notebook and your pen. I want you to share this link, the link to this video, to your biz bestie, text it in the group chat. We're going to be talking about why the wealthiest women in the world do not trade time for money. The wealthiest women in the world do not trade time for money. And before you think this is a hustle culture pep talk, it is not. Before you think I'm about to tell you to quit your job, I'm not. What I'm going to do is show you a pattern. Okay? I'm going to show you a pattern that separates women who feel financially stuck, even when they have a good, decent, high-paying salary. What separates these women who feel financially stuck from the women who feel financially free. Okay? So I'm going to start this conversation off with a question. And if you're taking notes, you can just jot it down, jot the answer down in your journal, your notebook, in your notes app. If you feel compelled and led to, you can answer this question in the chat or the comments. The question is, when was the last time you felt financially safe? When's the last time you felt financially safe? Not financially comfortable, not I can pay my bills this month. I mean, when was the last time that you felt financially safe? I'm talking about if something shifted tomorrow, if your industry restructured, if your role was eliminated, if a health situation came up, would you be okay? Now I'm going to just assume, and I know what they say about assuming. We all know what they say about assuming, but I'm going to assume that that question, when was the last time you felt financially safe? I'm going to assume that that question made some of you feel uncomfortable. But here's the thing that I want you to understand, that if you felt uncomfortable, the discomfort that you're feeling is information. Because here's what most of us were taught. We were taught to get a good education, to get a good job, to work hard, to get promoted, and then retire. And that was the plan. That was the roadmap that we were given, right? And for a long time, that was the roadmap. That was the plan, and the plan worked. But we are living in a completely different economic moment. Would you agree with that? If you agree that, particularly in the United States of America, we are living in a completely different economic moment than what that roadmap gave us. If you also feel that, I want you to drop a yes in the comments for me. Because the plan that we were given, it has some gaps that nobody warned us about. So I want to ask you something else. If your income stopped tomorrow, not forever, just for 3 months, how long before things got hard for you? So if your income stopped tomorrow, how long before things got hard for you? How long would it be? How long would that be? Because most financial experts say that most Americans couldn't sustain 2 months without their primary income. That's what the financial experts are saying. And that is not a character flaw, y'all. That is a system that was built on the assumption that your job would always be there. And here's the shift that I want you to make today. Here's the thing that I really want you to think about. Your job is not a guarantee. It never was. It was always an agreement. It's always an agreement. It is agreement between you and your employer. That's why you have to sign something when you get hired. And that's why you sign something when you leave. But the thing about it is agreements can change. Layoffs are happening to high performers. Restructuring is happening at stable companies. Industries are shifting. Roles are getting automated. Budgets are getting cut. And none of that is a reflection of your talent or your work ethic. It is just the nature of an economy where your entire financial life is tied to just one source. And that's the pattern that I want to talk about today. And I don't want to talk about this to scare you. I'm talking about this because I truly, truly, truly want to free you. Because again, the wealthiest women in the world, they are not wealthy because they work harder than you. They're wealthy because they understand something at the root level about how income works. They understand something that most of us were never taught. And that is what today's conversation is about, okay? So I want you to stay with me because it's going to get good, all right? Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. I see the love on YouTube. Thanks so much for coming in today. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wealth Wednesday. That's what we're talking about today. We are talking about wealth on this Wednesday. So let me paint a picture for you. Actually, two pictures. I want you to imagine the first, a woman. Okay, one woman, she's educated, she's skilled, she has worked her way up, she has climbed the ladder, she got a title that she's proud of, her salary is good, maybe her salary is real good. She works hard, she delivers, she is indispensable. You know, the first woman that comes to my mind, have you seen the Best Man franchise? Any of the Best Man series? You know, the Best Man Holiday, the Best Man sitcom series that was on Peacock, or even read the book Unfinished Business by Malcolm D. Name escapes me right now. But anyway, when I just said imagine a woman that is educated, skilled, and worked her way up, and she has a title that she's proud of, and she has a good salary, maybe a really good salary. She works hard, she delivers, and she's indispensable. The first woman that came up in my mind was Jordan from The Best Man, played by Nia Long. Y'all know who I'm talking about? This is Jordan. We talking about Jordan right now, okay? But here's the thing. Every month, this woman, she is waiting. She is waiting for her paycheck that is fixed, regardless of how much value she created at that company. Y'all remember the story with Jordan, right? If you watch the series, at the end of the Peacock special that came out around 2021, remember Jordan? She kind of walked away from her job, right? She had climbed that ladder. She worked her way all the way up to the top. Like, she was in demand. She was booked and busy. She was respected. She was sought after, and she left. If you read the book Unfinished Business, Malcolm D. Lee, that's the author. If you read the book Unfinished Business, if you're into novels, I'm into novels, okay? And it was good. It was really good. It picks up right where that series left off. So even women like that, Jordan, she was waiting, right? Her paycheck was fixed. She created a ton of value. Every raise that she ever received, it required someone else's approval. Every bonus that she received, it was conditional on someone else's budget. Literally, her income had a ceiling, and that ceiling was set by someone else who has never even sat in her chair. Listen. This woman, I'm picturing Jordan. Who are you picturing? When this woman is sick, she gets worried. When she goes on vacation, she's checking her phone constantly. When layoffs are announced, she's holding her breath. And it isn't because she's weak. Y'all remember Jordan from The Best Man? That was not a weak woman, honey, because she is holding her breath because her entire financial foundation is resting on just one structure. It is that one agreement. It is that one stream of income. Okay? Now, I want you to imagine a second woman. And she has the same education. She has the same skills. She might even have the same job. But she made one different decision. This woman decided that her job would be her primary stream of income and not her only stream of income. So this woman, she looked at what she knows. She looked at her skills, her experience, her knowledge, and she built something alongside of that. So she built something that generates income when she's not actively working. Listen, I'm going to stay in this same industry. Remember, Jordan was in the media industry. She was in the entertainment industry. This second woman, the first woman that's popping into my mind, is Oprah Winfrey. Now, Jordan is a fictional character, right? Oprah Winfrey is a real life character. If you know anything about Oprah's story, you know how she came up through the ranks. At some point, Oprah decided to take ownership of her own thing, right? Are y'all picking up what I'm putting down? Oprah decided that her job would be her primary stream of income, not her only stream of income. And I imagine, I haven't talked to Oprah personally, but I would imagine that she decided that during her time on the Oprah show. Again, if you know anything about Oprah's story, how she started off, was it in Baltimore or Washington, D.C., Virginia, somewhere in that area, as a news anchor, got over to Chicago, started the Oprah Winfrey Show. I would imagine it was at some point during that time that Oprah decided that the Oprah Show, yes, this is my primary stream of income. It is not my only stream of income, right? She looked at her skills. She knew she had these skills. She knew she had the experience. She knew she had the platform. She knew she had the audience. She knew she had the knowledge, and she built something else alongside of it. Hello, Harpo. She created something that generates income when she's not actively working. She created something that she controls. And guess what? She still gets her pay. She still was getting her paycheck from the Oprah Show. But she also had something else. She had options. When the Oprah Show ended, was she concerned? She pivoted almost immediately, right? Because she had options. She had options. She had freedom. She has freedom. As a matter of fact, speaking of Oprah, I saw a clip this morning on Instagram. I guess she's on Keke Palmer's new podcast. She's a guest on Keke Palmer's podcast. Her podcast isn't new. I don't know why I said new. Baby, this is Keke Palmer. I love Keke Palmer, by the way. But anyway, I guess Oprah is the most recent guest on Keke's podcast. And they're having this conversation in this clip that I saw on Instagram about young people. Something is up with my chair today. I can't figure it out. About young people wanting work-life balance, right? And Oprah schooled the young girls on what work-life balance is. And Oprah basically said she's at a point in her life where she can do whatever she wants to do because she has the freedom to do it. She has the freedom to do it. When the Oprah Show ended, Oprah had options. She had freedom. She had the ability to say no, the ability to walk away if she wanted to. She walked away from the Oprah Winfrey Show, y'all. She had the ability at some point in her career while she was doing the Oprah Show to negotiate from a place of safety instead of desperation. And that right there, so we're talking about Jordan from The Best Man and Oprah Winfrey, a real life person, a fictional person, a real life person. Here's the thing. That is the difference between an employee mindset that Jordan has and the owner mindset that Oprah Winfrey has. And I want to be really, really clear about something. This is not about quitting your job, because some of the most financially free women that I know, they have full-time careers. This is about starting something that means your job becomes a choice and not a ball and chain shackled to your feet. Take the shackles off my feet so I can dance. Okay? Now let me show you where that gap comes from. So in the employee model, your income is directly tied to your time, right? So you show up, you go to work, you get paid. You show up, you go to work, you get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. I literally say this to my my kids all the time. When I was in high school, I had a friend. There's a lot of tangents. Okay, just stay with me, all right? I had a friend in high school. I won't say her name, but we worked at McDonald's together. And she worked all the time. When I say all the time, like overtime, part-time, full-time, holiday time, double time, triple time, single time, all the things. And back then, minimum wage was like $4.25, and that's what we were getting paid. So she would always say to me, girl, if you don't work, you don't get paid. You don't work, you don't get paid. And that's the truth. Like, if you don't show up to work, you don't get paid. And it's crazy because, you know, high school was however many decades ago, and that's still the case. You don't work, you don't get paid. You show up, right? You work, you get paid. You don't show up, you don't get paid. And the thing is, when you're an employee and you have this employee mindset, your income stops when you stop working. But in an ownership model, income is tied to value. And value doesn't require your physical presence. Value does not require your physical presence. Here's the thing. A course that you built last year, it can sell today. A coaching package can serve 3 people at the same time. A framework that you created can generate revenue while you're sleeping. This is not magic, y'all. It's math. And the women who understand that math are building wealth in a way that a salary alone cannot ever create. Think about it this way. If you got a 20% raise tomorrow, like a real raise, not this little cost of living bump that they tease you with and and play in your face with, a 20% raise, where would you be? You would still be tied to one source of income. You would still be waiting for someone else to determine your ceiling. You would still be one restructuring away from starting over. Here's the thing though, that raise, it feels great, but it doesn't change the structure of things. And structure is what we're talking about today, because it's not about how much money you make. It is not about how much money you make, right? I would imagine that Oprah was making a good 7-figure salary when she was doing the Oprah show. But at some point, she still decided to build something on her own. So it's not about how much money you make. It's about how you make the money. A raise changes your number, but a second stream of income can change your life, y'all. The wealthiest women in the world don't just earn more, they earn differently. They have built income that compounds, income that doesn't require them to be present, income that gives them leverage. And I want to stop right here and just pause for a second, because I have something to say that's very important. When I say wealthy, I don't mean rich. When I say wealthy, I mean free. And what I mean by free is you are free to choose your work. You're free to choose your schedule. You're free to walk away from things that no longer serve you. You are free to stay in things that you love because you want to and not because you have to. That kind of wealth does not come from getting a bigger salary. It comes from a different structure. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really sit with this and think about it, okay? What do you know how to do really well? I don't want you to think about what your resume says. I want you to think about what it is that you know, what it is that you know how to do well. What problems do people come to you with? What do people ask you your opinion about? What would your colleagues pay for if you charged for it? Because here's what I've noticed, and I've worked with dozens of professional women at this point. Most of us have been trained to see our skills as things that we do for someone else's company, that we've never once even asked ourselves what those skills are worth on their own. So you have spent years, maybe even decades, building skills, right? You know how to lead people. You know how to manage complex projects. You know how to communicate in high stakes environments. You know how to solve problems that other people find overwhelming. And you've been packaging all that into a job description. You've been selling it at a fixed rate. Yes, you are selling your skills to your employer. Your employer is buying your skills. You are selling your skills at a fixed rate to just one buyer. And that is not a strategy. That is a single point of failure. Your skills are an asset, y'all. And most of us have been treating our assets like a salary instead of a portfolio. So think about what an investor would say if you had all your money in one stock. If you had all your money in one stock, what would an investor say? I'm talking about you had no diversification, no hedge, everything was in one place. That investor would probably tell you that it's risky, right? But that is exactly what most of us are doing with our income. We have everything in one stock, and that is our job. We have no income diversification. So when that stock dips, so I'm talking about when a layoff comes, when a company restructures, when your role gets eliminated, you have nothing else to fall back on. Here's the thing. Your skills are your backup plan. They are your leverage. They are your next stream of income, but it only if you decide to use them that way. Now, I want to introduce you to a concept that I believe is going to change everything when women really, really start to internalize this thing, okay? The difference between knowledge and packaged knowledge, there's a difference between those two, right? Okay, so right now you have knowledge. You have skills. You have learned things, you have done things, you have navigated things, right? But when your knowledge is sitting in your head, it doesn't generate income. But when you package that knowledge, it starts to generate income. When you take what you know and you organize it into something that's teachable. So I'm talking about a framework, I'm talking about a process, I'm talking about a system. When you package that and you organize it into something teachable, you have literally created intellectual property that people will pay a premium for. And here's the thing about all of this. It's not because you invented something new. It's because you made what you know, your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, you made it accessible. You made it practical. You made it easier for someone else to get a result. And that's what a coaching offer is. That's what a consulting package is. That's what a digital product is. It is packaged knowledge. It is packaged skills. It is packaged expertise. And the beautiful thing about packaged knowledge is that it doesn't depreciate. Your skills don't expire when you go on vacation. Your framework doesn't disappear when you get off the clock. Your process doesn't reset when you take a sick day. You build it once and it works for you long after you have moved on to the next thing. You have been selling your skills by the hour when you could be selling them by the outcome, literally. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, at this point, I know what some of you are probably thinking. You might be thinking, you know what, Nick, I'm not an expert. Nick, who would even pay me for that? Nick, I don't know enough yet. And I want to just very lovingly and gently push back on that. And I want to be clear that I'm going to challenge that. And it's not because I'm dismissing your doubt, but I'm pushing back on that because I have heard it from women who had no business doubting themselves, okay? So think about a woman who's been in HR for 15 years and thinks anyone could do what she does. Or a nurse who has navigated complex patient situations and assumes that that's just her job. What about a project manager who's led multi-million-dollar initiatives and calls it just coordination? Here's the thing. In my experience, I have learned that women have minimized their own value so consistently that you started to believe the minimization of it. You don't have to know everything. You just have to know more than the person you're helping, and you do. So I want to give you a little history lesson here, okay? Let's talk about the 40-hour work week. And I see, in some spaces that it's starting to change and evolve. But the 40-hour work week was designed in the early 1900s. And for the millennials and Gen Zers that might be watching this, no, I don't mean the 1990s. I mean like the real early 1900s, okay? Like 1900, 1901, 1902, okay? The 40-hour work week was designed for factory workers. So the idea was revolutionary at the time. It was a structured workday, it was predictable pay, and it was basic safety, right? And for a moment, for that time in American history, the 40-hour work week worked. It worked because the economy was stable, industries were growing, and companies kept workers for literally their whole lives, okay? Pensions existed back then. Long-term employment was expected. Loyalty was rewarded. But here's the thing. We're talking about the early 1900s. It is 2026. 2026. What is that? That's a lot of years, okay? And that economy is gone. And the average worker now stays in a role for less than 4 years. Pension plans are largely a thing of the past, and they were replaced by 401ks that require you to manage your own retirement. Listen, I'm not making this stuff up. Layoffs don't happen to struggling companies anymore. That is not the model that these companies are operating in. Back in the day, layoffs only happened when a company was struggling. Today, layoffs are happening to profitable companies that want to improve their profit margins. The structure has changed, y'all. The promise that was given to us, that was made to us, it's not a promise anymore. But nobody told you to change your plan. You are still operating on a framework that was designed for an economy that no longer exists, and it is not coming back. It's not coming back. And that gap between the old plan and the new reality, that is where a lot of people's financial anxiety lives. It is where the I make good money, but I'm still stressed about it. That's where that feeling comes from. It's the space between the old plan and the new reality. I make great money, but I'm still stressed. Because you were told that the plan worked. I was told the plan worked. I followed the plan. You followed the plan. And the plan has gaps in it that nobody has warned you about. I'm warning you. This is your warning. It's not your fault that you didn't know about it, but now you do. And now that you see it, now that you've heard it, now that you know it, it becomes your responsibility. It becomes your responsibility. You know, there's in my personal life, um, sometimes I'll ask a lot of questions and sometimes I won't, right? And I'll have a conversation and I'll have a debrief with my husband, and he'll be like, well, did you ask? And I'm like, no, I didn't ask. I didn't ask because I didn't want to be responsible for knowing the answer to that question, right? So now that you understand how this economy and this job market and the workforce has evolved, you understand and you're hearing that this old plan and this new reality, there's a big gap between the two. Now that you know that, you're responsible for it, right? You're responsible for it. Because here's the thing about safety. Safety isn't something that happens to you. It is something you build. And the women who feel completely financially safe, they built that. They built that. And they built it not because they earned the most money. They built it because they're not dependent on one source. These women made a decision at some point that their job would be one chapter in their income story, not the entire book. And I want you to think about your own personal income story right now. Just close your eyes and imagine. Think about it. How many chapters are in your income story book? If the answer is one, I am not judging you. I am inviting you, because it is not too late for you to start to write a new chapter. Security and safety in this is not a salary. It is a structure, and you get to build yours. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now I want to talk about something else that doesn't get talked about enough in the build multiple streams of income conversation, and that is the emotional cost of dependency. So here's the thing. When your entire financial life depends on one job, it changes how you show up at that job, right? It changes how you show up. Like, you tolerate things that you shouldn't even tolerate. You stay quiet in situations when you know you should speak up. You smile through things that you know are not okay, because you need that job. And because you need that job, your financial desperation that you might not even be calling desperation, it shrinks you. It puts you in a box. It makes you smaller than you are. It makes decisions for you that you would never make from a place of freedom. I have spoken to, and I know women personally who have stayed in toxic situations and workplaces for years. And they didn't stay in these, professionally and personally. They didn't stay in these situations because they didn't know it was toxic. They knew it was a toxic situation, but they didn't have any other option. So having a second stream of income is not just about the money, y'all. It's about what the money makes possible for you. It's about walking into any space, professionally or personally, knowing that you have options. This is about being able to negotiate a raise, knowing I could walk away from this at any given moment. This is about setting boundaries, knowing that your entire financial stability doesn't collapse if anybody pushes back on you. And that is real wealth. This is Wealth Building Wednesday. That is real wealth. The real wealth, it is options. It is leverage. It is freedom of choice. It's not just about the money, but all of those things are available to you. I want to spend just a few minutes talking about something specific here, because when we talk about streams of income, most people go to the same three things. When you hear multiple streams of income, what's the first thing you think about? Real estate, stock market, start a business, right? And all of those things are legitimate, okay? But there is one that I feel gets overlooked all the time. And it is especially overlooked by women, and that is coaching. And when I say coaching, I don't mean quitting your job and becoming a life coach. That's not what I mean. I don't mean becoming, what is the lady on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? I don't mean becoming her. I mean taking a specific problem you know how to solve and helping other people solve it. So I'm talking about if someone wants to get promoted in your industry, that you can help them with that. If someone is trying to navigate a career transition, you can help them with that. If someone wants to build financial literacy from the ground up, you can help them with that. Someone wants to manage a team better, you can help them with that. Someone wants to make better, healthier choices for their life, you can help them with that. Someone wants to learn how to communicate with their teenagers better, you can help them with that. Listen, coaching at its core is solving a problem with guidance instead of doing it for them. So I'm not doing it for you. You're not going to do it for them. You're going to help them solve the problem with guidance. And the market for coaching is huge, y'all. This opportunity is, listen, the coaching industry is valued over $20 billion globally, and it is growing. That is 20 billion with a B. And it is growing. People are actively looking for guidance from someone who's been where they want to go, period. And there are women who are walking around with decades of experience. They're walking around with a track record of results. They are walking around with a real desire to help and serve others. And these women have never once considered that what they know is worth paying for. Now, let me be honest with you about something else, okay? Coaching isn't passive income in a traditional sense, okay? I'm just going to be very honest about that. Not at first. It's not at first, okay? In the beginning, you will be trading time for money. Yes, you will. But you're going to be doing it on your terms, and you're going to be doing it at a rate that you set, and you will be doing it for clients that you get to choose. And then if you do it long enough and you don't quit, something very interesting starts to happen. You start to build systems around that thing. You package your process, you create a curriculum, and then you build a group program. And now, instead of working with one client at a time, you're working with 10 clients at a time. So your time investment stays the same, but your income multiplies 10x. That is leverage. That is the owner model in practice. And for women, for most women, coaching is one of the most accessible streams of income that exists. Because you don't need a new degree. You don't need a degree at all. You don't need startup capital, and you don't need a warehouse or inventory. You need your skills, you need a clear process, and you need the confidence to put yourself out there in front of the right people. The thing that you've been doing for free, the thing that you have been doing inside of a job description and a performance review, someone out there will pay a premium. They will pay you a premium to teach that to them. Hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. Now, I want to address something honestly with y'all. I really want to talk about this and be real honest about this, okay? Most women don't pursue coaching because they don't believe that people are going to pay them. Most women don't pursue coaching because they think they need to be famous, internet famous, or just, celebrity famous. Most women don't pursue coaching because they think the market is too saturated. And I just want to offer a different lens here, okay? There are 7 billion people on this planet. You don't need all 7 billion of them to be your clients. You just need a handful of the right ones. Your first coaching client isn't looking for the most famous person in the industry. They're looking for someone who understands their problem. They're looking for someone who has been through what they're going through. They're looking for someone who communicates in a way that makes them feel understood. And guess what? You can be that person. You're already that person, as a matter of fact. So here's the question. Are you willing to show up as one? Are you willing to show up as that person? And I want to go even deeper because this income stuff is so real. This strategy is so real, but there is something underneath all of it that determines whether or not any of this will work for you. And that is identity. I will always talk about identity in this. Most of us have internalized just one identity, and it's employee. So you wake up and you think about your job. You measure your value by your title. I'm the senior vice president of blah, 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 right? You define your contribution by what your employer says that you're worth. And that is a deeply ingrained identity because we have built it over years, over performance reviews and org charts and job descriptions, and I get it, and it's not wrong. Because being good at your job, it matters. Your career matters. Your professional reputation matters. But if employee is the only identity that you hold, then your financial life will always reflect that limitation. The women who build income and freedom, the type of income and freedom that I'm talking about today, they have added an identity. They didn't replace their employee identity. They added an identity. They're still great at their jobs, but they've also decided that they're builders. They've also decided that they're creators. They also decided that they're coaches. They also decided that they're earners on their own terms. And that shift from I work for income to I build income, listen, that is more impactful than it sounds. It doesn't require a press release. Oh, and the other part about it is you can do this quietly. You can do this quietly. It's not going to be broadcasted all over. I was going to say 9 News because that's like the news out here. I don't know what the news is, but it's not going to be broadcasted everywhere. It's not going to be front page news. It's not going to be on MSN or whatever app you look at. So it doesn't require all that. It just requires a decision. It doesn't have to make a lot of noise. It requires a decision that you are not just an asset to someone else's balance sheet. It requires a decision that your skills belong to you, that your experience has value beyond your job description, that your potential doesn't have a ceiling that is set by someone else's budget. Listen, you are not and you're not just a job title. You were always a business waiting to happen. And that identity shift, it is available to you right now. You don't have to get more experience. You don't have to wait until your kids get older. You don't have to wait until you feel ready, because I say it all the time, ready is a feeling that shows up after you start. It doesn't show up before you start. Okay? So far in the last, 45 minutes, we have talked about the structure of employee versus owner income, right? Remember, I talked about Jordan from The Best Man. And if you're just joining live, I encourage you to go back and watch the replay of this live stream on my YouTube channel. So when we talked about employee income versus owner income, we talked about Jordan from The Best Man, played by Nia Long, and we talked about Oprah Winfrey, right? We talked about your skills as an asset that you have been undervaluing. We talked about why the 9 to 5 was never the full plan. Remember, I gave you some history lessons up in here. And we also talked about why that's not something to be ashamed of. It's something to respond to. Remember how I talked about when I worked at McDonald's and what my friend used to tell me? If you're just joining, I encourage you to go back and watch the replay on that. We talked about coaching specifically and how accessible it is. And we talked about why it's a high leverage income stream for women, right? And we just talked about the identity shift that makes all of this possible. Now I want to talk about your next step. I want to talk about what's next. Because for women who are watching this and they're feeling a pull, they're feeling a nudge, they're feeling something that's stirring up inside of them, they're feeling that, you know what, okay, I see this, I believe it, but how do I actually do this? If you are feeling that, that is what Ignite is for. Ignite is my 12-week group coaching program, and it was built for exactly you. If you are feeling this, if you have a stir in your spirit, that is who Ignite was built for. Ignite was built for the professional woman who has skills, who has experience, and you know that you want more, but you haven't had the structure, the support, or the strategy to build this thing. In Ignite, we do this work together. We identify your stream of income, we package your skills into something that people will pay for, and we build your offer, we build your audience, and you get your first clients. And we do this in 12 weeks. This is not a course that you're going to buy and forget. This is a program with real live coaching. It is real live accountability, and it has a real cohort of women who are in this with you. My next cohort kicks off on August 10th, and applications are open right now. If you want to apply, I encourage you to go to my website at herincomeedit.com/ignite, or you can just click the link down in the description. What will happen is you fill out a short application, and if your application is a good fit for the program, I will set up a strategy call with you, a free strategy call with you, to make sure that Ignite is the right fit for where you are in your journey and where you want to go in your journey. Spots for this cohort are capped. They are capped. So this right here, the capped seats, is not a sales tactic, because I know how this program is structured. It can't be a sales tactic. So I keep the cohorts intentionally small so that every single woman who enrolls gets the attention and the work that is required for this. So when it is full, it is full. And then we move to the wait list for the next cohort, okay? So if this is speaking to you and you know whether or not it is, I don't want you to wait if it's speaking to you. I want you to go over to my website at herincomeedit.com/ignite. I want you to click the link down in the description and apply. If you have any questions, I want you to drop them in the comments and I will answer them accordingly. And I'll point you in the right direction on your questions, okay? So the thing about all of this is Wealthy Wednesday, Wealth Building Wednesday, Winning Wednesday, whatever you want to call it. Listen, the wealthiest women in the world, they didn't get there by working harder. They got there by deciding that their value was worth more than what someone else was willing to pay for it. And that decision right there is available to you today, right now, today. Your skills did not change. Your experience didn't change. The only thing that will change is whether you decide to own your skills or to keep renting them out. Okay? Listen, I want to thank each and every one of you for popping in and out of today's live. I see you. I feel the love. Your presence is always appreciated. Thank you to each and everyone who shared the link to this video with your biz bestie, dropped it in the group chat, or just shared it with a woman who needs to hear this, okay? If you haven't already, I invite you to hit that subscribe button, turn the bell notifications on. Listen, what is today? I am about 20 plus days into my 100 video sprint. That is where I am dropping a new video on my YouTube channel for 100 days. I've been doing this for over 20 days, y'all. So turn on your bell notifications so you don't miss a beat. My name is Nick Scott. This has been another episode of Nick at Noon. If you are feeling that stir in your spirit, go to my website, herincomeedit.com/ignite. Fill out the application. I hope to see your application come through. I would love to be the one. I would be honored to be the one to help you package your skills, to package your expertise, and to start creating options and freedom and leverage in your own life for your future, for your legacy, and for your family, okay? Yeah, that's it. That's all I got. Thanks so much for joining, and I will see y'all